back anyway. The bottom line is, let me get a couple of slides that I could talk from. And if I could bring it up, hang on a second, please. I don't seem to be able to get it. Hang on a second, please. Nope.
I see a live Zoom demo. So it looks like you're sharing your screen.
Yeah, I do not know what happened to my. Okay, hang on a second, please. This is what happens when. Is this screen being shared?
Yes, great. Yes, whole care for Parkinson. Is that you?
Yep. All right. Like 90% of the population, or 95% of the population, you are probably among them, who is not aware that there is a huge pandemic brewing fast and going like crazy, and that is Parkinsonism. And I wanted to really focus on that today and to show how Rejuvenan, which you heard, a few of you heard before, without going into a lot of Rejuvenan, how we go about trying to really annihilate this thing or get a hold of it early on. So it's a personal note for you. Hopefully that you could enjoy it, as well as one that is also an economic giant that, you know, people, drug companies, individual investors should really see if they could exploit. So I just go to Parkinson's to tell you what it is and how it is, and then at the end tell you what we are doing at Rejuvenan. Basically, I'm trying these days to try to come up and acquire a genomics laboratory, which is one of the last pieces of information, and that's very critical to these diseases that are mediated by genes. And I'll try to address that at the very end. So let me see here. If I could get the bigger screen, it would be much easier than for you.
Are you put on slideshow, Kevin? I'm sorry, Fred?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's a very quick slideshow. Let me see here. Slideshow. And let me start from the beginning. All right.
Looks great.
Okay, now let me just minimize this and talk to you. Let me start by a story that's very interesting. In 2008, Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google, posted a blog entitled LRRK2. This is the name of a gene whose mutation commonly causes Parkinson's. Scientists and discoverers found out that a very big study showed that 40% of Ashkenazi Jews, like Brin and his Parkinson's-stricken mother, are predisposed to suffering Parkinson's disease. Average population, 1% versus 40%. So the genetic makeup has a lot to do with this terrible disease. 23andMe tested Brin. 23andMe is run by a lady, Anne, who's the ex-wife of Brin, and they found that Eugene Sergey actually had LRRK2, and that mutation being the case, of course, there's a wide range of you getting predisposition to this disease, between 20 and 80%. Brent says that he feels really lucky that he knows about it, and he has changed his lifestyle, what we talk about at Rejuvenan, and his genetic makeup, and try to really beat this disease, or at least get by with it and extend his life. And the reason the genetic mutation is a major cause of Parkinson's, but like other diseases, it's a combination of environmental and genetic factors that goes into it. That's really what the complex of the Rejuvenan is all about. So let me give you a little bit more. Why can I not move this? Jesus. Okay, sorry. My computer froze. Sorry.
Happens to the best of us.
Okay, let's see if okay, all right. I think I'm fine now. What are the causes of Parkinson's? So this is, I hope you get something out of this lecture today, because I think it's very helpful human-wise to really discuss this, because this pandemic is coming very fast, and I'll tell you in a minute why. Pollution, insecticides, pesticides, home cleaning chemicals, all the chemicals that kills bugs actually kill you in the long run through a disease like Parkinson, in particular Parkinson. Industrial solvents like trichloroethylene, they're used by a lot by the dry cleaning industry for spot removing. That is unbelievable. That is responsible for at least a third of the Parkinson problem. We still to this day, unfortunately, use it. Agent Orange, that is used by the farmers for pesticides, and worse than all, Paraquat, which is still in the market. I can't believe it. Is causing this disease to become the monster that it's become. As a few years ago, there was 500 per day new cases of Parkinson's, and now over 1,000 of them. We also have, the government have found out that this is a difficult. They have difficulty with a lot of the chemicals that has been used by in daily use. So they were dumped all over the place, all over the country. So they've got these super fund size that the government has put up to really try to clean them up. It's hard to imagine, but all of us live within 25 miles of one of these super funds, in which case they were really exposed to it. 30% of the US drinking water supply has been contaminated with TCE. I mean, we are all interested in environmental, the fire, the water, the ozone layer, but our bodies are full of this crap that is really killing us more than even the environmental stuff that as described in the press. Genetic mutation, which will be discussed later in a couple of slides, and traumatic injuries, you know, kids playing tennis, playing football, not tennis. Tennis is great. Football, soccer, and things that they use their head. That causes long-term injury. That really is contributing factor. And believe it or not, exercise both helps to prevent Parkinson's and also alleviates it once you get it. I won't go through this, but bottom line to say the nerve toxins like chlorifos is unfortunately widely used. When you spray yourself again for mosquitoes and what have you, that stuff is killer. That's exactly how built in you over 30 years and it becomes Parkinson's. The scale of the disease and what is the toll like? The scale of it is huge and overwhelming. Progressive movement disorder that exacts a profound toll on patients, caregivers, and families. Up to 40% of the people with Parkinson eventually require nursing home care. They end up on the feeding tubes, and really terrible time. They can't take care of themselves. I have a personal experience on this because my father-in-law got it, and it was the most miserable 3 years of life that I've seen that wonderful, very famous physician go through. While Parkinson's reduces life expectancy modestly, because when you're diagnosed, you still will live like an average life, but the quality of it is terrible. It's choking, falls, pneumonia, all kinds of stuff that happens to you. Even when miracle drugs like levodopa, is used, these drugs have debilitating side effects, including impulsive behavior that you see in Parkinsonian behaviors. Parkinson history, it is a man-made dynamic. I'm not going to go through it, but essentially, Dr. James Parkinson in 1817 discovered that with the workers in the Industrial Revolution, and it has direct relationship to industrialization of the country. They have, for example, population of 65-year-old in the UK multiplied sixfold between 1900 to 2014. And while Parkinson's disease increased almost 3 times faster. Somebody's got their microphone next to something they're moving. It's interfering with conversation here. Could somebody put it on the mute, please? Somebody's mute, please. All right. I'm going to try to see. Bottom line is China and India that is growing so fast, believe it or not, are showing the worst signs of Parkinson's all over the place. Industrialization has a direct correlation, particularly because of these solvents we talked about. I won't go through this, only to say that Dr. Clausen of Sweden discovered the role of so-called dopamine. Dopamine is allowing nerve cells to communicate with one another. it's neurocell basically that gets killed. And
Hey, Fred, can I interrupt you here for 1 second?
sure.
All right, this is an incredibly valuable presentation. I hope you can send me the link so we can share it with the rest of the audience. I've had people in my family affected by Parkinson's, and actually, I think that the environmental aspects of cancer are pretty substantial as well. And you probably said this 10 years ago. 75% of the diseases in the United States are caused by environment or by personal habits, right? So this is really valuable. Look at it. We have a question from Kevin McGovern here.
Yeah.
Fred,
Here.
I can just point something out to you. You may remember I'm on the board of Rejuvenan. I sent you a drug company that reduces plaque.
Camera.
But you know what? I'm gonna report to you the following, and I think you're gonna find this interesting. Rudy Tanzi at Harvard Medical School is a leader in Alzheimer's, says an indication of Alzheimer's is high copper content in the blood system. Patrick Dollard, who heads up the Center for Discovery for Autistic Children Severe, says one of the key indications for autism is the minerals in the water. One of my companies, we created the Pure Filter for Procter & Gamble. You're talking about Parkinson's with TCE. Bottom line is, this is all stemming back, and I'm not, Marty, you touched base on it. We got to go to those causes, and that water that we're drinking is causing so much of this. So if a person of your stature and many of us really join forces, what bothers me about the drinking water crusade that I've been on for about 30 years is it really doesn't have attention right now. COVID is obviously where it should be. But you're saying one of the causes is in Parkinson's. It is all over the place in statistics. We're just not opening our eyes to it and realizing we need to work on the causes and not the symptoms.
I totally agree with you. And this is a man-made disease as a result of the industrialization. We can get rid of it, certainly for the new generation. But the problem is this, and this is very important. It takes 20 to 30 years for this thing to incubate in us. Some 60% of nerve cells are killed by the time you discover you've got Parkinson's. So in other words, 60% of your capability is gone. And I totally agree with you with water. In my own home, I've got triple system for filtering everything, chemicals, minerals, all kinds of stuff, and acidity, which is all go together. I'm an old chemist. In fact, I'm interested in this because as an old chemist, I was exposed to a lot of these goddamn chemicals. I gave up the business because of it. So it's very important for us to know that, but nobody's paying attention to it, just like they're not paying attention to the water. We try to get all these environmentally good conversation going on, but how good is the environment for me? My body is full of garbage. So that's the story. I won't, basically what it is that these pathogens find their way, and chemicals find their way through either vagus nerve in your stomach or through your nose and head, and then travels to your brain. And it's very interesting for us to know this because there are some early signs. If you can pick it up, it's fantastic for you. One of the early signs is that you lose your sense of smell. If your sense of smell in the last 3-4 years is less than what it was, or you lost it, you better check it out, because that is an early sign of Parkinson's coming your way. And then 10, 15 years later, the rest of it will happen. And it's essentially an unfolding of protein genetically. So one of the most important things to do is to do some genetic analysis. There are 2 or 3 genes like RRK, which Bryn has had to deal with, and or synuclein, which is another gene on chromosome 2 and 4. So I got very excited about this potential. If you put all of that together and environmental work that I've done with Rejuvenan, we wanted to put that whole thing together. We can handle this disease. We can really make a huge dent in it. And I'm hoping that others will do that. That was really the reason I thought today.
Fred, it sounds like you're really realizing the platform vision of Rejuvenan that you kind of laid out 5 years ago, right. Talking about your ability to kind of really address multiple issues that are out with general health care. So this is really fantastic. Can you keep on going, because we've got 5 minutes?
Okay, I will. This is my last slide because I want to open up for questions and answer. If not, I'll give you more. But basically, the way Rejuvenan enters the scene is that we build your combined medical and health profile, 24/7 digital record we create for you. So you have that. Our whole shtick is that we do whole care. In other words, it's sick care and health care together. Every once in a while you get sick, but most of the time you're healthy. Our current sick care system doesn't recognize your health. They don't even know what the hell you're talking about. So I'm trying to see ahead of time, hit it off. When you're healthy, hit it off to diseases. That's what this whole Parkinson's business is. And Alzheimer's, by the way, I could have done the same thing in Alzheimer's, and I'll do it. There's 6 diseases we're going after. We then have Rejuvenan health score, handicap your health status. With 10 biomarkers, we handicap where you stand. These are based on what is known as phenotypic information. Phenotype is the kind of information that is outwardly, that is reactive medicine, basically. In other words, you see already something has happened, like when you discover you've got Alzheimer's. We want to get ahead of that on a cellular medicine basis. That's genotypic information. We next sequence your genome and look for mutated genes and associated genetic markers. That's why I'm in the market buying 1 or 2 rolling up laboratories, genetic laboratories, so that we can do this service. We can do the whole entire thing once that thing is acquired. If need be, we can obtain toxicology information on heavy metals. All of us have got some of this crap in our body, mercury, cadmium. If you eat a lot of fish, you definitely got some kind of mercury. Anyway, you can get rid of these things like chelation and other forms. We then merge our knowledge of your phenotype and genotypic information into one roadmap of optimized treatment plan, including drug therapy and a personalized whole care system. Then our doctors, we have 250 doctors on our telemedicine side. Our virtual care platform extend our whole care 24/7, 360 engagement to you, your family, your caretakers, your primary care physician, and your specialist. I'll stop there to tell you that there's a whole program that I've been working very hard on pulling, my whole team pulling it together, and we pulled it together. We are in the last leg. So the only thing I would say that if you want to know more about it, you can contact me. You want to participate in our pre-IPO funding, we would welcome it. If you have a ready SPAC to go, a number of them are talking to me, and we will probably have a pre-IPO of some kind in the next 6 months. Have a genomic or tox lab you want to sell, we like to talk to you about it. So this is my contact information. And Rishi, our young CEO, he's MD, will be also available to talk to you. Anyway, I'll stop there to talk. Anything you want to talk about, I'd like to talk about it, particularly this. Alzheimer's is another one of these diseases, and so are the heart disease, so are the cancer and everything else. So I stop there. Please, any kind of questions?
Fred, this is great stuff. I'm sorry we're just out of time. I know there's a lot of questions out there in the audience, but if you can stick around, maybe we can just do them via chat and answer them that way. But we'd love to catch up with you more on Rejuvenan. And when we have our event in Baltimore, maybe in August, maybe I can give you 30 minutes there. So
okay.
So we're moving on to the fantastic job, Fred.